order. And I've got some things to distribute here. Kind of started a little bit of a worksheet for talking to the select board. So I think Chris, you have one, and Brian one, but Danny, and we'll get to that later. But so first off, a review of last month's minutes. Thank you for capturing everything, especially the kind of HBO discussion. I thought you did a great job here, Brian. Thanks. Did anybody have any edits or changes?
No.
Okay. All right. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from last
So
week?
moved.
Second, all in favor? Okay. Thank you. Thank you once again, Brian. So our next meeting will be March 9th at 4 p.m. Both Jennifer and Susan cannot make it today. And Joe also could not make it today. As far as a membership update, Joe, after attending last month, is very interested. It looks like he will apply for our last remaining alternate spot, which I think would be fantastic. And I still haven't gotten formal confirmation, but it does look that Andy was added as our other alternate. So I'm assuming that is so. It's on the website. And speaking of the website, Janice has done most of the edits that I gave her. There's a few little tweaks we still need to make, but basically our website's been updated, which I think is great. Hello. Hi.
Speaking.
Just reading about you.
And since Susan's here, there is no select board liaison update, but she did email me and say that they are seemingly open and would like to go ahead with having the select board workshop. And so they wanted a first step of us just presenting broadly where we are in our process and then establishing a workshop time. So I'm going to say yes. And as soon as she puts us on the agenda, I'll reach out to you guys and we'll prepare what we're going to say to that. So I'm hoping it's in the next 2 weeks, but I don't have a formal date yet. And moving to the historic also I wanted to share this. Stephanie Smith sent me this history connecting Princeton, Massachusetts and Camden, Maine. It's kind of an interesting historic story here. And I thought I would just pass this around if anybody wants to take a copy or if they want me to email them a copy, but I'll keep that in our archives, as it were. And yes, okay. And so now, oh yes, and I'll do that later. Okay, so in terms of the HPO, I've passed out a little select board workshop document that I just started trying to pull together. So I've kind of tried to just outline like what are the actual areas of tension and areas that I think we would need to guide a discussion with the select board with. And I've put 14 here. I think it's a lot to throw at you guys just sitting down and looking at this. So I would ask that you take a look. I mean, if you have thoughts just skimming it, tell me, but otherwise, give this a read through. And when we meet to talk about meeting with the select board, this can be a starting point of discussion. But the thing I keep thinking about is, in my mind, there are kind of two areas. There's all the kind of pros and cons issues and the decisions that need to be made in terms of informing the actual drafting of the final document. And then there's a broader question of kind of just the positioning of historic preservation ordinance. And I feel like I've written so many things, calling for why we need this ordinance, and everything from editorials to the newspaper to PowerPoint presentations to the select board twice, PowerPoint presentation in our public workshops. And so I feel like I keep rewriting the same things over and over again. And I feel like I'm definitely in search of like, what is that like primary positioning statement that kind of says, here's why this is a good thing for Camden. And I keep falling back on trying to change the conversation from, there are nuts and bolts decisions that need to be made, but rather than changing, how does this affect me? Like me as a homeowner, I'm in the historic district or I'm not in the historic district. I have a historic home or I don't. What's going to be the cost to me? I mean, those are all real concerns and real things that need to be worked out in the document. But at the broadest level, I would just love to try and frame the conversation, or at least move the conversation to how can I contribute to this community that will all benefit from a historic preservation? Like, what is the large proposition to the community about why this makes the town better? And am I willing to participate in that? So that's kind of the main thing I'm trying to get across, or change the way people approach the conversation. I just keep, whenever I'm sitting and thinking about it, I keep falling back and like, how do we just change the way people are thinking about this? Like, it's not a set of rules that prohibit you from doing a bunch of things. It's a way for you to join into a community effort. So I don't know, any thoughts or reactions to that? Yeah.
I'll let you all go first if you have
No,
something to say. But one of the things I think of is, what's the place going to look like after I'm gone and we're all off this committee in 20 years from now? And kind of a visioning concept. So if I were to come back with my, be lucky enough to see my great grandkids and they were living here, what would the place look like? What would it feel like? And isn't it the look and the feel and the sense of why we all love Camden already, that we want to see future generations? And then with that, what's the, what's it look like? Does it have modern, does it look different when you're coming down the main corridors or coming in from Belfast or from Rockland or from Hope? All these different, or even the water. What's it look like? And I think, people that want to preserve it have a vision of what it is they want to keep. And so maybe triggering that in people. And I did one for the island and thought out 5 years, but I almost think you've got to go more than 5 years. It's like, after I'm gone, what would I like my grandchildren to see or feel or experience? And God forbid, the world is changing so much around us. It's going to be part of that world one way or another, but what is it that we want? So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think I come from the same place when thinking about that. But there's a funny tension even there, because we can pull up photographs, from late 1800s, 1900s, and see a town look different then. We've maintained a lot of that same character, but it's the nature of civilization that it's an ongoing march forward in time and things change. So it's an interesting balance in terms of what you're going to invest in preservation and how you're going to adapt to changing times. But that's the place I come from too, is like, don't want this to be another lost town, another lost community. But yeah.
So maybe some of the story is looking at lost communities. I mean, ones that have already been lost and visibly are very different. And I wouldn't know quite where to go with that, but Maine certainly has a lot of old communities that are being lost. You know, their main streets are gone. They're just not looking like they used to. Some are coming back, some like Waterville is a
Mhm.
good example of one they've tried to kind of pull it back from just all of the, you know, being sort of chopped up and the downtown gone, and now the downtown's being revitalized.
Well, that's a funny note that you do see so many towns spending the extra money to reclaim, rehabilitate, and renovate, and kind of try and recapture what was lost.
Mhm.
If they would have just incrementally done it along the way, you know, but that's why we have a Maine preservation, you know, society and what have you, because there is a lot of interest in
Mhm.
that.
And people, I think, come here, I mean, visitors come here to see old New England. in a
Yeah.
way.
Any other thoughts?
Signage.
Signage?
Keep the signage in order so that the strips doesn't look like Los Angeles or something. I just, it's important. If you're coming into town and that signs can really destroy it. And we fortunately don't allow any billboards.
And maybe we don't have any 5-lane freeways either. All right, well, you know, just think about that and tell me if anything in here you think should be added or taken out, or we'll just continue working on that, but we're still in a little bit of a holding pattern. Did you have anything you want to talk about with deconstruction and reuse?
Yeah, I mean, we're like I've said the past couple of meetings, I think we're pretty focused on sales and kind of doing things with the materials that we have in our inventory. So we're pausing on decon because it's brutal in the middle of the winter. But yeah, I mean, that's been going well. A lot of people who have been buying from us have historic homes actually and are trying to match things. So that's, I think that, you know, demonstrates the argument that that deconstruction can help with, you know, maintaining historic properties. I'd say that's actually like the probably more than anything, the customers that I'm getting who are like making big purchases. So yeah, that's exciting.
I thought the article that Pat sent was interesting.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, definitely the like movement itself is definitely getting a lot of recognition. We should be having an article coming out in Green and Healthy Maine Homes pretty soon.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, just chugging along.
All right, cool.
I drive by every week.
Oh yeah.
Jennifer gave me a little update on the plaques. So Richard Remsen is still gung-ho to continue making plaques for us. So she's backing off trying to find a new vendor. So he's reaffirmed doing that. The price looks like it's going to be $160 that we'll be charging. So far, she hasn't asked him to change the image on the smaller plaque. So it may be that we don't want to incur that additional cost. But so anyway, we can move forward with creating the brochure and having the applications that are already in move forward.
Great.
I know, Michael, you'll talk about Curtis Island, but I wanted to just say one thing that Pat wrote a letter for Deer Island for Susan Greenlaw at the Historical Society regarding the bell that they generously gave back to us. So she drafted a letter. I made a few changes, but I thought I would just pass this around and just kind of wanted to get people's approval, and also wondered, should this come from just me as the chair? Should it come from the entire committee? Should it come from the committee and Curtis Island? I just wondered how we want to kind of sign off on this. So you can just kind of look at that and see if you're good with the content. But moving on to Michael.
I don't have much to say.
Yeah.
A lot of things are just waiting. We have the plan for access,
Mhm.
but we need town approval to move forward on that. And what I'm recommending is going with the stairs first.
Mhm.
The application, the engineering study has both the natural ramp where we take off a ledge, ease back a little of the bank, and put some crushed rock in there.
Yeah.
But maybe hold off on that until we have contractors that are, kind of ready to go. But what I'm recommending to the town is that we put an application in for both the stairs and the ramp, but then focus on doing the stairs this summer. Public needs them, anyone visiting the island, and contractors will need them. What's there is too narrow, too rickety to be hauling anything heavier. When I go up them, I know I'm 180 pounds.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the stairs and I'm hoping they don't fall out.
Why are you carrying 180?
I don't know. It's the way I've been for a while.
Okay, great. Also, I should let people know I had submitted Michael and the Curtis Island Lighthouse Foundation to both the Camden National Bank's award for community leadership. I forget the actual name of it, but also to Maine Preservation's kind of community award for their preservation honor awards. And they seem very interested in what's going on. And they wrote me back a letter. So Michael was not selected this year, but they seem very interested in reviewing it once the renovation is done. So I think you'd be a very likely candidate. I don't know if you got a copy of that letter.
I did get a copy of that. Thank you, Chris. That's very nice.
That's that, if you want to see that. Boy, we just blew through the agenda. Is there anything else you guys just want to generally talk about, or? Thank you, Andy. Nice seeing you.
I'll say one other thing. So we're getting ready to do a capital campaign, and having these sort of 3 projects or 4 projects, the light tower, the lightkeeper's house, the bell, and the access. But right now they're all sort of not moving. I mean, hopefully they're going to start moving soon. And our capital campaign will depend on that. And so we're looking at, does it make sense to do a capital campaign to raise the money to really support all of these activities that are going? We've generally gone for individual donations and haven't pushed for a capital campaign until we have a kind of a clear plan to move forward. So we're really hopeful these things are going to kick, and then that triggers a timeline and how much money we need to move it forward. So,
Where do you think you're at in terms of available grants, or that you've explored those? And
yeah, let's see. Well, the big one from Maine, we still have to hear, where we are. That should happen anytime soon. We're hopeful, but you never know. And so,
what's the custodian status there? Or is it nobody's going to move in there until you restore the buildings, or what?
that'll be something for the town and the foundation input to decide. But I think personally, I feel it's important to have a custodian there, a caretaker. Whether it's this summer or we figure some way to have someone there temporarily this summer, or a group of people sort of keeping an eye on it. The town needs to weigh in on these things. It's the town's property, and we're trying to be clear about what our role is here and what the town's role is.
Would you, if funding was not an issue and you received every dollar that you would ever hope for, do you think there will someday be a day when there is running water out there, or is that not really on the?
It's one of those things you have to kind of research. There were wells on the island, and one of them, I think, was polluted by kerosene or oil when they brought it over from the Coast Guard. And so that's something to be looked at. But there is a huge cistern in the basement that could be historically preserved. I mean, it looks to be in good condition. It may need a liner in it and updated. And then that's all roof water. And then it needs filters and whatever. Probably would never be drinkable, I wouldn't say, but it would handle most of your water needs.
So is potable water, has it historically just been filtered, or is it brought over bottled, or how?
I think all the time the Conovers were there, they would bring, every spring, they would bring 50 gallons or 100 gallons or however many, a lot of jugs of water that they would use for drinking. But for bathing, it was pretty much in the ocean, and and they had some sun showers I had noticed. So there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think it would benefit by having people on the island
Yeah.
and living there. And then it's a question of what do you do with the caretaker's house? Could it be some type of a combination, caretakers of, say, 2 people, and the downstairs kind of an office, historic area, something that would really serve the general public a bit more, and have that building open and accessible.
Yeah.
Has the Island Institute ever done anything with Curtis Island?
I think they've had some volunteers, or Outward, when it was just Outward Bound. Outward Bound had volunteers that came over. We have not gone to them for financial help, but they've done a wonderful job, and it's one of the things I think could happen, some conversations there, and saying what could we both be doing to help each other? So.
Andy, do you have any comments or questions? Or
I was wondering, do they have floor plans of the dwelling?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have, and I'm actually searching. I met the commander of the Coast Guard here, young man who lived in Camden, loved the island and wanted to help us. And he recently moved to Washington, but the Coast Guard History Center office is like 2 doors down. And so he sent me a note without my asking recently, saying, what are the things you'd like to see? And I'd like to see the original blueprints. I have small copies of them that show sort of every stud and how it's framed out. And I think, no, I don't know. I didn't give you that copy. Did
No.
I?
Washington State or Washington DC?
DC.
Washington State is, the Portland area is like you're in New England.
Mm-hmm.
It's so thinking is the same. The wooden boats over there, the wooden boats over here,
The lighthouses.
lighthouse.
kind of Super Bowl champion?
I would quickly say that Camden is so much better than organized politically or socially, whatever, than other towns. The town I was in has plenty of history, but no one in that town has ever cared about it. Every town around my town has delayed articles for you can't turn a building down if it's historic for a while. My town has never let that happen.
Which town is that?
Mansfield, next to Foxborough. They just, whatever you want to do, you can do. And yet there's tons and tons of history. Some historic buildings have been torn down right in the downtown. I was thankfully enough to be able to get in there and photograph and do some plans of them and stuff because, I mean, I think Camden is, people are already thinking about the history. And certainly Camden is well known. If I, down in Massachusetts, if you mentioned one of the best towns in Maine, Camden's one of them.
It's the Berkeley of the East. That reminds me, actually, I did get an interesting email that I think I should apprise you all of. Shenley forwarded me an email from a gentleman who was inquiring about a home that is for sale on Elm Street. And he was expressing tentative interest in the home, but was wondering how a potential historic preservation ordinance would impact that property in the future if he was considering demolition. And I just thought that was super interesting because it's interesting on both sides of the argument, because I think it has been proposed that is it possible that historic preservation would somehow prevent home sales or be a factor in that? That's interesting. But it's also interesting that that the contemplation is, I want to demolish this home.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so I'm sure there are plenty of people in the community that would not want a person to purchase a home just for the sole purpose of demolishing it. So there are, legitimate arguments on both sides of that. So I just thought that's one small kind of proof point for both arguments. But it sounds like even the rumor of the ordinance is trickling into historic districts and perhaps affecting behavior, attitudes. I don't know, but I thought that was interesting.
And that was Elm Street.
Yeah, Joe raised that point last meeting, that
Exactly.
it might discourage
Yeah.
owners who just want to do whatever they want with the property from buying there, which in the long run is good for the town if
Yeah.
the right kind of owner who
Yeah.
wants to preserve things is the ones that buy.
Totally. I'm always surprised at the argument. I wonder if it's just that people don't believe it or don't think it's significant, that the argument that home values and property values protected by historic preservation ordinance are more stable and benefit from a historic preservation ordinance. And I can't say that I know this, but just anecdotally, it seems like that's not a very persuasive position when we talk to people. And that kind of surprises me.
Well, I guess it's hard to prove,
Mhm.
right? Because there's so many other factors involved with property.
Okay, well,
Sorry, how did they catch wind of that? The people who were interested in purchasing it, that an HPO might was
I don't
on the
know.
table, and I'm curious about that.
Yeah. I'm
And
curious.
then, do you know how they've responded to the question?
Well, they emailed Shenley.
Yeah.
Shenley copied me, and then I responded to
Oh,
them.
you responded. Okay.
I told them that that the ordinance is targeted for a November ballot, that if it were approved, it would not be implemented immediately. There'd be some lag time between it being approved and then forming the commission, and then the commission having the authority to act, and that the commission's job would not be to halt. That's the way he phrased it. It would halt all demolitions. And I said, it's not categorically halts all demolitions. It's to review all demolitions and to work with homeowners and see if there are other options. But so I kind of just clarified. He was under the impression that you can't demolish homes anymore if the ordinance passes. So I guess that was interesting too, that presumption.
Mm-hmm.
So, if safety is an issue, and I know there are also financial considerations if there's just, it's prohibitive to renovate or rehabilitate, then the commission would have to make whatever decisions there. But
Can you
Yeah.
say what property it is or?
I think he did, but I don't know if I feel like I'm violating
Okay.
anything by disclosing that. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Motion to adjourn,
Some
seconded, all approved, all in favor? Great, thank you.